what's known as eye-opening or empowerment ceremonies for new figures and altars that we have at the temple. So I just want to give you a little bit of information about how the two ceremonies will go. We will not have our typical chanting service. Instead, our service will be comprised of these two ceremonies. The first will happen inside, and there's not much for you to do except send your good energy to the new figure of Avalokitesvara, who will be enshrined on our main altar. It's been many years that Hojo-san has been hoping to have this figure, so she arrived finally. So we will venerate her. That will happen in the hall. Then I will signal you, after that first ceremony, we will all go outside to do an eye-opening and veneration ceremony for our new spirit's altar, our earth spirit's altar. So I had made an announcement earlier, and I think the greeters have been telling you, if you have shoes that are out by this entranceway over here on Garfield, it will be great if your shoes are ready for you out here in the back. So I'll make an announcement, and it'll be very clear that this first ceremony is over, and then we'll go outside. As you're leaving the hall, please pay attention to the greeters. They will have seed packets for you, which will be involved in the ceremony. There'll be a time during the ceremony where we chant the Enne Jiku Kanengyo, and that will be a time for the assembly to make offerings of these seeds that have been prepared for you. They're all native pollinators, by the way. And then those seeds will be also available for people to take home as part of the ceremony. After the outside ceremony, the children will return to the hall. The children can go directly to the Jizo hall for children's sangha. We'll return to the hall for zazen, and then also Hojo-san would like to offer some words, I'm guessing, about the ceremonies, but who knows what he would say. So it'll be a lot of moving around today. Please take care of each other and make sure that you're paying attention as you move around to the spatial needs of the Sangha. Other than that, what will happen now is we will have a full ring-down procession. The abbot will come to the hall, and we'll jump right into the empowerment ceremony for Avalokitesvara.
with the body of a being deep in universal vows, in lands and the 10 directions, in countries as numerous as specks of dust. The ship of compassion is ever propelled to the shore east of the lake, turning the Dharma wheel in the sea of affliction. Sankai yuishi, sankai yuishi, sankai yuishi, sankai yuishi, sankai yuishi, sankai yuishi. Seeing living beings with the eye of compassion, an immeasurable ocean of good fortune. One drop of ink, both transformed to a dragon. Onkiri bazarumbata, onkiri bazarumbata, onkiri bazarumbata, onkiri bazarumbata, onkiri bazarumbata, onkiri bazarumbata. Undang, 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 umbang, umbang, umbang. Ino santen sui bammotsu senshin nari. Ino santen sui bammotsu senshin nari. Ino santen sui bammotsu senshin nari. 1,000 hands flashing as this, bright mind, heart, water pouring down as compassionate gaze. Roll through and from the threshold of indivisible, luminous space.
Neither old age and death nor According with their karmic conditions and responding to their appeals, it never fails to reach them, such that even ordinary places are the seat of awakening. It is difficult to exhaust the praises of the Buddha's ocean of merit. On this occasion of the temple enshrining a great bodhisattva, having respectfully provided incense, flowers, light, sweet water, cakes, and tea, and having gathered the present pure assembly and chanted the Heart of Great and Perfect Wisdom Sutra, we offer the merit as an offering to our great benefactor and founder of the doctrine, the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, and to the great bodhisattva, Avalokitesvara, who universally perceives the sounds of the world. We humbly pray that the blessings of the four benefactors may fully be repaid, that the three classes of existence may all be liberated, and that beings throughout the Dharma realm may all equally attain to the Buddha way.
Proceed outside.
There are a few members today from the Eco Dharma group, which is a part of Buddha Eye Temple, who have gathered treasures from across Oregon that represent our state. And we want to present those objects today as an offering to the earth altar and in reminder of our connection to the earth and our gratitude for Mother Earth and for all of her gifts. I brought today a piece of ponderosa pine bark. It's the habit of this tree to, its growth habit, to shed the pieces of its bark as it grows into these beautiful, intricate puzzle pieces. If you look at the base of these trees, there are all these puzzle pieces on the ground, and this represents to me the West. It represents the forests of Oregon, which are so important. It represents the dry area, very different climate than what we're used to here. And it represents to me an offering from this tree as part of the growth habit. So I'm going to place this in the earth portal.
And let's see, from where the sea meets the land, and meets and merges, and from under the ground, the razor clam, which comes up to the surface, and where the seagull comes down and feeds. I place a clam shell in the ground, and then a seagull feather from the sky, where the sky and the earth meet.
I have two front teeth from nutria, which I had collected from a skull on a hike in the wetlands in Oregon earlier this year. I also have two pieces of Abyssinian that I collected while I was hiking on the original Oregon Trail in Eastern Oregon near Summer Lake. And finally, I have some water that was collected at the confluence of the Willamette and the Mackenzie River.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my time estimates are usually not accurate. And I wanted to make sure to have a little time to talk about the dedications this morning. So we'll just consider our chanting was the time for Zazen. That verse, the Emme Jiku Kannon Gyo, it means like the 10-line sutra of Avalokitesvara. So very appropriate this morning as we dedicate this new icon of Avalokitesvara to be chanting that so many times. But I don't really want to ruin what we have just done with explanation, so I'm not actually going to explain about it. It's something for you to experience and for us to all collectively place our mind in a direction that is not about our own center as being the locus of understanding. That's such a limited way that we humans are in the habit of our own understanding being the locus of what is true or good or helpful. And honoring spirits, I think, is one of the things that we have lost, and we've lost it with this ability to be able to locate truth someplace much broader than just our own understanding of some kind. But I did want to mention the Eco-Dharma group, if you guys would just raise your hand for a second. They approached me, what was it, last year, maybe last summer, and said, hey, why don't we start doing some veneration of the earth? And I was so thankful for you bringing that forward. It's something that when we founded this temple, I had intended/assumed that we would start doing right away. It's very central to Buddhist conception of what it means to establish a temple, is to honor the spirits. And in a way we have. This tree, this fig tree, has, from the day that we came to look at this place, before we purchased it and started establishing the temple, we all immediately knew that the guardian spirit lived there in and as that fig tree. And those of you who have spent time around that fig tree, you'll know that there's some gateway there that is not, it's a gateway that's everywhere, but at that fig tree, there's something you can know about it, which is very special. So I really had felt when the group had brought that to me, I really felt my own negligence in that regard, that we hadn't done a clear marking and veneration of that. And so I think this is really important for the Dharma that is here. In Japan, and East Asia in general, usually these spirits are talked about as dragons. And they take whatever form they need to take. So if dragon or naga or serpent, isn't quite what it is, it could be something else. But there in East Asia, dragon is usually the way that they're referred to, or nagas, serpents. And it's said that in every temple, if it's a temple of the true Dharma, there will be a naga which circles the ground. And it is the responsibility of those who care for the temple, all of you, to see that dragon stays vibrant. Because that dragon's circumambulation of the altar of Buddha's awakening is what allows it to flow in the world. That we humans are just not, we're a little bit too, like I said earlier, self-centered and self-preoccupied, that we tend to shut that door, because we shut it with our own kind of ignorance. But that these dragons help to open that. So in some of the words that were spoken this morning, you heard things like that. You help us overcome our one-sided views, for example, was in the proclamation out there. These spirits, it's not just about we need help from the earth spirits and we want to be thankful for the riches that the earth brings to us. It's actually, this is a Dharma gate. Right? This is something to do with liberation. That's important. Really important to remember. I also wanted to mention Togen. Where's Togen? Oh, he's over here. Togen and Sky here, who work very diligently to place the stones and to make the beautiful altar that what you saw there today, and getting it positioned just right, and getting the portal into the earth situated we spent a lot of time thinking about that, and many of you are involved in kind of maybe a little bit this way, a little bit that way, but they're the ones that actually place the stones. And thank you so much for that, that work. The headstone there will, in the future, Togen's starting to experiment with a little bit, chiseling into basalt, which is what that stone is, which came from the ground here. We sit on a very significant bed of basalt, and we found that out when we built this hall. It has upsides and downsides, but all the boulders and things that you see around the temple grounds, they all came out of the ground here, and that particular one has been here in front of the hall since we built the hall, and we chose that one for the main stone of this altar. And so we're going to, or Togen's going to, or some collective we will carve a spiral there in that stone to mark it as the sacred stone for that altar. So we always joke here. It's like we say, okay, we're going to sew a robe. Okay, better plant the cotton. It's like we're always trying to go all the way. But I love that, actually. That's an expression that we have here at this temple. It's not everywhere. It's a little bit rare. And someone said to me the other day, I think it was you, Myobun, you said, oh, so many of your students are crafty. and I said, well, you kind of get that way if you hang around here, if you're not that way already. So anyway, those are just some kind of general words that I wanted to say. But if anyone has any questions about anything that happened today or what we're doing here, we have a little time for that. Yeah?
I was just so what can we do at this earth altar?
You can open your heart. Yeah. So how to do that is every person's own exploration of veneration. But this morning, we got some seeds. This is those seeds that you put are native pollinator seeds. So please, when you go, take some with you, and you can. I bought them at Down to Earth, and they said now's a good time to sprinkle them and maybe just rake them a little bit. You don't have to put them down in the ground, and water a little bit, and they might go or they might not. But that's something I felt like was a good kind of offering to bring. But bringing some kind of simple offering. A lot of times people bring offerings that they want to stay there. That's not so helpful. Because it just builds up and builds up and builds up. Actually, things that break down are better offerings. A little bit of food, so tobacco. If you have the flask, you could, whatever it is that you feel is bringing that, and the stone is there for that. Is for that purpose. What I usually do, at many kinds of altars, but particularly Earth Spirit altars, which again, the word Earth here is a little bit. Don't let it confine your mind too much. It doesn't just mean Earth in the way that we usually talk about Earth. It means the earth, the sky, fire, water, all of the embodiment, the world of embodiment. And so, what I do, those kind of altars especially, is after I make some kind of simple offering, then I stand or kneel, depending on how the altar is arranged and what I'm feeling at that time, and I just open my mind, my heart, not trying to calm my mind down or make myself be quiet, not that, like just realizing there's something beyond my constant ruminations, which is in play, and I offer that. That heart is kind of the real center of the offering, to see from that place and then to be seen in that kind of simple way. There's a kind of yogic quality to it. You can open from here, and you're just being seen from the top. See how far you can be seen down into your belly. That's how I do it, but everyone will have their own way. Hi.
May I make a pitch for the Eco Dharma group?
Sure.
We meet on the third
Tuesday of the month at 5:15 here. Everyone is welcome to join us. We sit together, we meditate, we talk a little. And I want to appreciate you very much for your openness to meeting with us and moving forward with us. It's been beautiful. Thank you.
I'm conscious that my son plays at that spot a lot,
Yeah.
and that maybe the purpose of that place has changed, or is changing a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the relationship to that particular place.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could. I'm not asking it just on a personal level, but for the whole community.
Yes, thank you.
Talk about
That's
that.
a really good question. We really purposely placed the stone where we placed it so that it would not be a tempting foothold for climbing the fig tree. And that's part of the reason, originally we thought it would be nestled right up inside the fig tree more, but then we thought if we do that, we're gonna even if we don't want to, we're gonna end up barking at children for doing the thing that they should do there, which is to climb that tree and be nestled in its branches. So watch out. We should watch out a little bit for the altar stone itself. I think it's placed in such a way that it won't be so tempting for this or that. But actually, we want children to interact with those kind of altars, and we can just teach them in a simple way, not be too tight about its sacredness. Like we tend to think of sacredness as being like, we have an altar like this, and we don't, we probably wouldn't be okay with a kid using the Buddha's head for a stepping stone or something like that. But when you put something outside like that, well, of course, it's going to have more of that kind of quality. So the sacredness we don't want to hold too tight, and we want that kind of interaction. So I think it does make the space feel a little bit different, but I think there's going to be harmony there that's actually even better than how it's been so far. And those of you who are here for a long time, our daughter Satsuki, who passed away 7 years ago, that's where she was a lot. And so for me personally, and I think for people who knew her, having children in that tree is necessary. Yeah. She used to sing there all the time, and then we'll be sitting zazen, and you hear her singing. It was just really, it's like heavenly realm. Right? Yeah, it was really, really wonderful.
Ojo,
Right.
what is the 1,000 arms in this beautiful statue?
Yeah,
represent?
I'll just say a couple things about it, and then there's going to be a lot of talk about, but both of these things, but this Kuan Yin in particular. So the arrangement on our altar is a bit of a rare one. The most typical arrangement for an altar in our school, or really in most of the schools in Japan, is that Shakyamuni Buddha sits in the middle. That's not true in most schools. The Shakyamuni Buddha-centered schools. Shakyamuni Buddha sits in the center, and then on Shakyamuni Buddha's left is Manjushri Bodhisattva, who this icon here is Manjushri. Manjushri also is in the meditation hall, or the monks' hall. And that's where Manjushri is in our hall. And if you come here for earlier meditation on a Sunday, you'll see Manjushri's here in the middle, and we're all sitting around. And Manjushri is the Bodhisattva of wisdom. And then on the Buddha's right is Samantabhadra, who rides an elephant, a white elephant. Those of you who read the Lotus Sutra, studied that. Samantabhadra shows up in the Lotus Sutra quite a bit, and is the Bodhisattva of dynamic functioning. So if wisdom is like the clear eye of seeing, Samantabhadra is like the doing, seeing clearly and then doing through that sight. That's the typical arrangement. But we're a little different. We have Shakyamuni Buddha at the middle, and then on Shakyamuni Buddha's left is Prajnaparamita, who's known as the mother of the Buddhas, the perfection of wisdom, which is personified as the Buddha Eye, Buddha Mother. That's her kind of title. Right? So for a long time, it's been like, what goes on the other side? There is an other side. And for a long time, I didn't know. I knew it needed to be something. And then I found that in a very, very old Mahayana Buddhism, the kind of Mahayana Buddhism that traveled through Southeast Asia, in the Khmer dynasty, or I don't know what you would call it, civilization that was there in Southeast Asia, which was a Mahayana form of Buddhism. Now that area is all Theravadan Buddhism, but there was a period of Mahayana Buddhism, and their standard three beings was Shakyamuni Buddha, Prajnaparamita, and Avalokitesvara, or the Bodhisattva of compassion. Oftentimes we know as Kuan Yin. In our sutras, you'll hear like Kanzeon, that's also Kuan Yin. So once I discovered that, I just knew that, it has to be a Kuan Yin. And there's this Kuan Yin of 1,000 arms is the Dharani that we chant, the Great Compassionate Heart Dharani. This Dharani comes from the sutra teaching about that Avalokitesvara of 1,000 arms. And in this icon, you can't really see it, but if you have a larger icon, every hand has an eye in the palm. Very trippy, but also the iconography has a real meaning that to see clearly with the eye, the Buddha eye, is to touch. We make a mistake in that, and that's why we need these two bodhisattvas to help us understand. We think that clear seeing, understanding, that's what it is. Actually, you have clear seeing and understanding, it doesn't mean anything. In fact, it maybe means just you're messed up, right? If it doesn't equal touching. We have a lot of sayings like to live in the ghost cave. People who are very sharp of intellect and they meditate a lot and they find ways to just piercingly clear insight, they get caught in this cave. Because they don't know that the eye with which Prajnaparamita sees the world is the hand with which Avalokitesvara touches the world and responds, is in constant response. So this kind of interplay between the touching of Avalokitesvara and the seeing of Prajnaparamita, this is very important. And just to throw a couple more, curveballs at you, most people are used to calling Kuan Yin her, because the iconography in China became associated with the feminine. But in the older tradition, the compassion is related with the masculine, and the wisdom is related to the feminine. So Prajnaparamita's personification is usually female, and Avalokitesvara's personification in the older tradition was male. And that male and female, which we all are coming to know more deeply, is not a division that we should hold rigid in any way at all. As we come to understand that more, I feel like it's more possible to talk about this quality of the masculine and feminine within the iconography. Before it's so rigid. People are like, well, I'm a man, so it means this, and men are this, and women are this, which I think we're starting to break apart a little bit, which is a good thing. And so here, when we see these icons, to consider why would in an ancient way think of Prajnaparamita as feminine and Avalokitesvara as masculine, and then why later did Avalokitesvara get so identified with the feminine, and that Manjushri was more identified with the masculine as a wisdom. We have all these aspects moving around all the time. So, this particular Avalokitesvara, so I ordered one. Many of you know that before the mountain seat ceremony, and the guy swindled me. It was like a full-on swindle. I ordered it from someone overseas, and it was during the pandemic, and all the stuff was like, backed up at the ports and they couldn't come in. And he was like, oh yeah, I sent it. And it got sent back to China because it didn't have the right address written on it. Pretty sure that's not what happened. Something got sent without the correct address on it so that it would show up on the tracking. But as soon as the 6 months were passed for the kind of like guarantee, then he refused to talk to me anymore. So it's no problem. Because actually that was not the Avalokitesvara which was to come to our altar. And then, so we're talking a little bit about having one made, and I contacted a carver in Japan and thought about that, and it was very, very expensive. It seemed a little bit out of line with what would make sense to try to raise, but also I just wasn't feeling it. The very beautiful icons that are carved by the professional carvers, they're amazing. But it just didn't feel quite right. And we thought maybe we can get someone to make it in clay. And so we were starting to talk about that. I love the fleshy quality of the clay sculptures, and I was looking at that a little bit. And while I was actually looking at icons, and then this one popped up, and then I couldn't believe that it was something which could be purchased. This was carved in the early 1900s in Japan, and the quality of it, why I was so attracted to it, is most of this kind of carving is very, very clean. So everything is like the Buddha, which you can't see right now, is just very like sanded surface type of, just that kind of quality. And there's a certain type of Buddha carving in Japan that leaves the marks of the chisel and does something a little bit different with how the icon is coming alive. And I'm really particularly drawn to that. In northern Japan, where my teacher's temple is and where my wife is from, and I spend a lot of time, that's particular to that area. They love that kind of thing. So I also love that kind of thing. So this Avalokitesvara is very rare to see one like this, which you could buy. So I did, and that was last week. And then here she is. And then I thought, well, maybe it's too cramped to try to do it with the Earth Spirit's altar. But then it's like, you really should do the proper ceremony before you're doing the veneration. So, from tomorrow, the morning veneration and everything that is always including Avalokitesvara, I just felt like we should do it. So I think it fit together okay.
Hojo-san,
Hi.
Avalokitesvara is holding the staff that Chizo holds to break open the gates of hell. Could you speak about that and why Avalokitesvara is...
Well, yeah. I mean, is there anything to say? That's part of the work, the Bodhisattva work, to break open the gates of hell and to provide, in much Avalokitesvara iconography, here you'll have to see more closely all the different implements that are in each of the hands. Those all are skillful means. They're all a skillful response to the needs of living beings to liberate themselves and others. So that staff is like that too. It's like one quality of the response that Avalokitesvara. And the 1,000 arms is symbolic for myriad arms, an unexhaustible number of arms, and unexhaustible qualities of touching, which this clear eye manifests. And so it's kind of fun to look at those things, and you get a sense. There's things in there like one is pouring water. So the Avalokitesvara that's in the entranceway, this entranceway over here from Garfield, you notice has a bottle. That's the elixir of compassion, and so the Avalokitesvara is pouring it down. That's one of the images. And you see a lot of paintings of that. So sometimes you have to break something open to be able to pour through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the other one's a halberd, so I'll let you chew on that.
How do we mindfully invoke the power of
Kanze onnamu buzu yo buzu uin yo buzu uen bubo so en jo ragu ga jo chonen kanze yom bonen kanze onnen nen ju shinki nen nen furi shi. That's one way. Daihi Shindarani, mantra. People, we make this mistake all the time. We think there will be the invoking and then there will be the experience of the invoking, and they will happen separate. But they never happen separate. It's always the invoking and the power are the same thing. So that's why we go very direct. And this is why Dharanis are so important. A lot of people in the West are like, oh, these Dharanis, it comes from this place, it's so complicated, we can't understand what they're saying. That's not meaningful because we don't understand the words. And I always say, just give it a chance. It's meaningful because you don't understand the words. It's like an exclamation of a celebration of something which you can't grasp. And that's what the Dharani gives us. So I'm always encouraging people, chant the Daihishin Dharani or the Great Compassionate Heart Dharani. Don't worry about if you can get through the whole thing or not. If you read a translation, you can look it up online if you're interested. It's kind of interesting. Every line, it's not like a story or like an explanation like sutras tend to be. It's just things like, hail the blue naked one. Not naked one, neck, the one with the blue neck, which is the Indra who drinks the poison that's extracted from the depths, along with the medicine that heals all beings. And Indra takes it upon himself to drink the poison and metabolize the poison and turns blue. So that's part of what's being said in there. Norakinji, like just feel the sounds and just put yourself into it. And then this Enmeiji Kanongyo is like that's all from Chinese, and it says like Kanzeon Bodhisattva, hail the Bodhisattva through all of our karmic connections and all the karmic connections that we don't know or can't see, and always in the morning, always in the afternoon, all through the evening. Just remember Avalokitesvara, remember Avalokitesvara. It's that kind of thing. So you're just get the motor going. Like that. So maybe we should have some coffee. And do we have treats this morning too? No. Treats are the cherry blossoms.
Any announcements? Good morning, my name is Liz. Paul and myself were your greeters this morning. If you're new to Buddha Eye Temple, welcome. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to come and ask Paul or myself or anybody who is in robes.
I have two announcemements. Please remember that this afternoon, if you are a term student, we will have our second meeting here in the hall at 1 p.m. It will last from 1 to 3. Also, the Buddha's birthday session, our meditation intensive, Registrations are now available in the front room. The deadline to register will be March 31st. So please take a look at that. If you have any questions about sesshin, you can speak to me. Thank you.
I have an announcement. On March 31st, we're going to do a trash cleanup along Amazon Creek. And so all are encouraged to join. We have trash picker-uppers, lots of buckets, and it's usually a pretty good time. So that will be on March 31st, starting at noon, and I can tell you more about where we're going to meet. And so can Sky, who's right over there.
Hopefully you kept your little paper cup. Please take some seeds before you go today, and put them somewhere that you like.
Today is a really great day to contribute to all that's freely offered at Buddha Eye here. So if you feel moved to do that, there's a Dana bowl in the front hall, and you can also go to the website or Facebook.
We'll have coffee and treats available in the hall shortly, and this is a good opportunity to motivate people to sign up for treats. If you have any questions about that, you can come ask me. Yeah, it's wonderful to be able to receive each other's generosity, both in shared space and shared sugar.
One more quick announcement. Because of the term student meeting, there's no need to put away cushions. Please just leave the cushions and chairs where they are and enjoy and admire the outdoors. Thank you.
The coffee will be outside.